Hello, guys. What is happening? And welcome to tonight's live stream. So, basically, tonight we're going through all the things that I forgot to go through on Friday's live stream. You may have noticed when you looked at the live stream title for Friday that it was like something about the hiking of interest rates. And then I changed it because we ended up missing talking about all of that stuff. I was going to go through some of the data that came out this week because we had a big week of data that just went by. We had two central banks hiking rates, one obviously the Fed, and we had different data points. There was a lot of data that came out. So we'll dive straight into this. I'm not going to take up too much of your time tonight. So basically, what you can see on the screen there is investing.com, and I'll blow it up so it's a little bit bigger so you can see. But basically, this is the data points that came out. So Tuesday, we had unemployment rates, housing starts came out for Canada. They were stronger than expected. I think that was obvious that that was going to happen. PPI was still really high in the United States. So that's the um, purchasers price index, and manufacturing sales down massively, showing an extremely weak economy under the belly. And crude stock, I mean, that's hit and miss changes week by week. So, but interestingly enough, what I wanted to get into was what we had on Wednesday. We had some very, very important data that came out. So the core CPI came out, and I wondered after the live stream, last weekend, that basically why was the core I was like, after the live stream on Friday, I was like, why did I have this tab open for trading economics or whatever? And it was for core CPI, and I just want to show you this because it will really show how high the core CPI is. And I just want to, so I'm going to share this. Okay, so basically, we just had that not revision. We just had that whatever the data point that came out. Can't get my words out today. So this is a 10-year chart of core CPI. And you can see, like, for those of you that are listening on Spotify, I'll just explain what I can see on the screen. It's relatively range bound from, I guess that would be around 2020, 2012, sorry, 2022, from 2012 all the way to 2020, and even into 2021, really, core CPI very range bound. And then all of a sudden, at the start of 2021, and this was when I said this is when they should have started raising rates, and they didn't. They said inflation is transitory, it's going to come back down. They told you all those lies, and it has gone absolutely bananas. And this vastly understates the real rate of inflation. I know you guys are smart. I know you probably seen the video and the contribution from Florida Ray, like the fact that eggs have gone up 87% or whatever. But this happens a lot on low value stuff, and people don't generally notice it. But it makes a hell of a difference, and that's exactly what you're seeing. So your dollars, you may notice at the end of the month, you're like, what is going on? I haven't got so much money left as I had before, or if you even had the benefit of having money left, I have no idea. But the thing is, you're going to be noticing that it's getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. And that's why the gas lineups are so long. I mean, it is, a lot of people pointed out that it is dumb that people are sat there idling for so long to get gas, but that just and they're burning gas whilst they do that, but it just shows you the lunacy. You know what, Trent? It's really interesting you mentioned coffee, because obviously coffee exploded in price last year with everything that was happening in Brazil. And, all these things are kind of forgotten about in the past, but the repercussions of those events we're now seeing. It's just like all the stuff with Ukraine and Russia. We're going to see that down the pipe in a year's time, maybe, when we're looking at the price of gas. And what you're seeing right now is just people speculating on the fact of everything that's going on, and people don't really understand. And that's why you see oil going up, coming back down. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of FOMO, but eventually, when you start to see that slow rise up again, that's when you know it's going to be here for the long haul. But it is just insane. And yeah, I was going to say about coffee prices. I noticed in the grocery store today, like the bag of the bag of coffee that I used to get was $8, and it's now $12. That's a huge increase. And you might say, well, it's still like not much money, but those increases, they add up. And if they're, let's say 10% on those big ticket items, and maybe they're 50% on those items that you're walking around the grocery store buying, makes a huge difference. So inflation is raging. Don't let the CPI fool you. And even the CPI, they can't even hide it with the CPI, because you look at this 10-year chart. If we go to a 25-year chart, you can see again, for the benefit of those that listen to this, range bound. There was some spikes of inflation in 2008, which was mainly gas prices and energy, and then basically range bound pretty much until now, where it's absolutely exploding. This is a 25-year chart, and now if we bring it all the way back, we go into 1980s, end of 1980s inflation. And what happened to the housing market at the end of the 80s, or 1990, or whatever, whenever it was? Didn't fare that well, did it? So you only have to put two and two together and you'll get four. I drink 10 cups a day. It's affected my disposable income. God, when I was drinking 2, 3 cups a day, that was enough. But I think you can't be serious. 10 cups. Tell us if you're serious about that trend. But yeah, like the inflation rate, absolutely insane. And we'll have the US inflation, I think, is coming out this week or the week after. But this is what I really like to go back to, because this really shows it how, using that 1980s base CPI, you can see clearly we are above the 1980s right here. And we're just exploding to the high side. And this is going to go higher. We're going to be talking about 1940s style inflation, like after the Second World War type inflation, when everybody was coming back and they had massive supply chain issues basically going on. The same then because of World War II. This time you've had it because of government shutdowns. It's just absolute insanity. So it is iced stock coffee, green tea for a touch of caffeine when needed. Yeah, I drink a lot of tea because I'm from England. Don't know if you can tell. And I drink a lot of tea. I like some of the herbal teas are nice too. And I gave up coffee actually last year or the year before. Does it seem like to anybody that the past 2 years, however long it's been, just seem like a kind of haze or a mist of how long they've actually been? Like you kind of look back and you're like, that was 2 years ago. Like it seems like it was only 6 months ago. It's really weird. But yeah, it is quite insane. But yeah, for the benefit of those listening, you can see that inflation again, pretty much like a range bound, but going up using the 1980 CPI. And you can see it was going up versus the CPIU, which actually it was just flat from 1992 to 2017. But if you use the 1980 CPI, you can see that it was actually going up during that period. And the other thing, which is interesting, is if you look at the same spikes with both the CPIU, by the way, is what they use now. It's the same as what Canada uses for calculating inflation. It understates it massively. But what you can see is even if you use the 1980s base, you get in the same price, not price action, but you're getting the same up and down, even though just at a lower level. So where it seemed like deflation, like we had in 2016, where it nearly went into deflationary territory, it wasn't. It was still 7% inflation. So we have had high inflation, as you know, for a long time. The thing is that I don't think a lot of people put this together is with the inflation that's happened and the fact that the CPI and everything, all these metrics understate inflation, and the wage growth can't even keep up with the CPI. That just shows you how far behind wages really are compared to inflation. And you can really only see like asset bubbles growing like housing. That happens because of credit. Just expansion of that credit supply keeps that market going until eventually, when the debt payments are so high that that becomes impossible, and then it has to reverse, and then the bubble collapses and you revert to the means, like revert to means username there. That's essentially what happens. So it's we're all going to get a bit more leaner with these increased food prices. You know what? Um, we eat a lot of beans and stuff like that anyway. Good protein in beans, relatively cheap chilies. You can make cost-effective meals that last you out the week, and there's different ways of doing it. The feds get 20% increase. Yeah, and that really shows you, are they looking at the old CPI and going, yeah, we'll just take those raises, because you really, like, if you calculated it using this 1980 CPI, your wages are like you've lost like 20-30% since the GFC, even if you've had a raise of like 1 or 2% per year, which most people haven't got. For most people, they're either getting that raise every one year, like for the inflation amount, maybe 1 or 2%, or they're not getting any raises, and then they'll get like a big raise every 5 years or something. But when you spread it out and average it, it's mostly the same what people get. Now, the thing is, how do you command more money? Well, I know a lot about that because I moved earlier in my career, I used to move around all the time and negotiate better pay, better conditions of work, and everything like that. And you should always have your eyes open for opportunities, because you should never just kind of be dead set on one certain thing, because especially in times like these, employers are going to struggle. They're going to lose good people because good people are going to leave. They're not going to be getting the raises, especially at big corporations. Big corporations are only going to raise, probably not even with inflation, and even if they raise with inflation, it's not going to be enough. People are going to know, they can see through this now. The gas prices are incredibly visible as a cue for people. So I think that really affects people's psychology. When I talked to my grandparents today back in the UK, they were saying they went to the grocery store, they were looking at the price of diesel, the price of petrol, they were looking at how much everything costs in the grocery store. Um, my granddad was saying that he used to go to this factory and he would buy seed, um, like sunflower seeds, like a big bag of sunflower seeds. And about 12 years ago, they were £2. And now he's paying 32 or £36, something like that. Anyway, it was an just insane difference in price, and it's just gradually gone up. But he says it's gone up like £10 since this all started with the Cerveza and everything like that. So it's insane. So let's head back over to the data points anyway. The CPI, absolutely insane. So we got to 1%. which you can see wherever it is right here. 1% in a month for the CPI jump in Canada is huge. I think when I look back, it was the biggest jump since 2014 or something like that. Um, so yeah, kind of crazy. I don't really look into retail sales that much, and I'll tell you why. It's because retail sales, they they just are calculating the dollar figure that everybody spent. So don't even like retail sales are just useless. I don't even look at them because with inflation, retail sales are going to look really good because everything's inflating in price. So the amount of dollars people are spending is going up, yes, but the amount of goods that they're buying is actually going down. So it's just the way things go. And I was kind of looking. So here we have the Fed interest rate decision, and there was Bullard as well, which is one of the Fed on the board of the Fed, and he was saying that we should raise 50 basis points, and of course they're never going to raise 50 basis points. They're weak hands, like they're just going to do this 25, 25. So interestingly, the interest rate projections, I don't know when this is for 2.4%. Like it says Q1, but I'm not sure is it Q1 2024? Like I can't see them getting to 2.4% in by next year. And this also says 1.9. So they're planning it being at 1.9% by Q1 2023. Are you listening, people who are out there bidding over housing prices right now? It is insane. Now, other big news that we had was the Bank of England. Now, what's going to be interesting to watch about the Bank of England, which I want to show you, is basically the Bank of England is actually at pre-pandemic levels now because the economy, if you look, has been struggling since 2008. They barely got rates raised. The highest they got was 0.75. That's all they got to after the GFC. Now, for those of you that don't know, even though the rates were as low as this, and this is the thing that Canadians, really just don't get their head around, and a lot of Americans will know this because of the GFC and what happened. But even though rates were 0.75%, your mortgage rate, the rate that you could get a mortgage for was way higher than it is in Canada right now, and it's ever been. Like when we were looking at mortgages in whenever it was 2012, 2013, or wherever that was, the 2-year fixed in England, I think, was around 3 or 4%, something like that. It was between 3 and 4%. It was a lot of money. And if you wanted an investment property, the interest rate went up. You actually paid a higher interest rate if you wanted an investment property because the banks knew that that's when the banks were acting responsible because they were under public ownership. The government legitimately owned most of the banks back then, and they were public companies because they had to be bailed out, took into public ownership. And the banks back then, they were responsibly lending. So you want an investment property, sure thing, but you're paying more interest rate, about at least 75 basis points more than a traditional mortgage. So the thing is, risk is priced completely so optimistically in Canada right now. Like they should be rates should be soaring right now because the banks should be saying, hey, we want to think twice about lending to these people because it looks like we're heading into a recession because a lot of the banks are going to know that we're heading into a recession. And are people going to be able to afford these massive debt repayments? I don't know. Smash the like button time to get this party started. Yeah, let's get this party started. Cost of utilities will put some under. Yes, it will, Rock Girl. It will. The cost of utilities has been in the news a lot in England because the price caps ended this month, I think, or next month. I think they end the end of this month, something like this. Anyway, within the month they're ending. A lot of people aren't going to be able to afford their utilities after that. So people just forget, like those of us that have the luxury of having that household, whatever you want to call it, the gap between what you earn and your outgoings. Those of us that have that are lucky because a lot of people they don't have that, and it's not their own fault. I hate to say it. A lot of them it is, but some of them it isn't. Some of them they just fell on hard times. They had a legitimately good job, and one of them lost their job or got made part time, or maybe they're in a specialist industry and can't find it. So I do sympathize with people because like the energy costs will bankrupt so many people, and we're starting to see rises in foreclosures everywhere, which I just find bizarre. Like even here in Calgary, I'm like, how are foreclosures starting to pop up all of a sudden when people could sell their house? Like, how are they getting into foreclosure? Like, a lot doesn't make sense right now that's happening, but you can never make sense of things in these mania cycles because you try and make sense, like why the Dow is up 3% one day, down 3% the next. Like, you can never make sense of that. The financial media is always trying to make sense of that. They're saying, oh, stocks are up on the woes of Ukraine. Stocks are down on the woes of Ukraine. Like, whatever. I mean, it's just they try and create a story out of everything. So I just reduced my cost of living by 50%, moved from New Zealand to Vietnam. Dave, the inflation fighting superhero. Nice. Vietnam is really nice. I've actually got two suits that were tailored in Vietnam, and the quality of the suits is phenomenal. You wouldn't even be able to get designer suits in here in Canada for that sort of price. So it is just crazy, really. But you know what? I just find it nuts, really, and I just I just banned somebody from the chat because it was some scammer. So whoever that was, I'm trying to keep an eye on that. But yeah, the interest rates in the UK are back at pre-pandemic levels. So the thing is, with that, does that mean Canada, the US is going to get back to pre-pandemic levels? This is just going to put a massive strain on if they do get back to, and that's what they're committed to, apparently. So we'll see what happens with that. But let's mosey on over. And I'm going to England. I forgot to mention, I just want to mention now, I'll be doing videos like we're going to switch. Yeah, I'll make this announcement now because most people will drop off when they rewatch this video. They'll be like, 10 minutes, I'm done. 20 minutes, I'm done. 30 minutes, I'm done. But basically, we're heading out to England at the end of the month. So that'll be good. I'm going to try and get ahead on the videos so that there's videos that are happening whilst I'm away. And then the ones that I film whilst I'm away, I'll edit when I get back. There's a lot that I want to show you guys. I'm going back to visit family, spend time with family and stuff. But, even in my hometown, you'll be able to see. And my hometown is like Vancouver Island, it's remote. The economy's terrible there. That's partly why we moved to Canada, because it was either that or moving to London. And London is just crazy, but it's so expensive. And the thing is, anyway, where I used to live, a lot of retirees there, not really much of an economy. And you want to see some of the houses and how houses prices have gone parabolic even there too. So it's interesting. But anyway, so at the end of this month, I'm going to be in England. I'll still be doing some live streams. Although the one problem I have in England, we'll have to just see how it goes when I do them, because like the internet connection I have here is like it's something like 800 megabytes. So 800 megabyte download, 800 megabyte upload. Like I think at my parents' house, they have the best internet connection out of everybody I know, and they're like 20 megabyte down, 10 up, something like that. So I'm not sure how stable that will be for live streaming, but I'm hoping so it'll be good. The good place is the place we're renting in Playa del Carmen in Mexico when we go in June. That place has fiber optic internet because, again, like when you're in Mexico and Panama, Costa Rica, places like that. If they don't have fiber optic internet, like it's just terrible. And it's like that in England. Most places in Canada and the US have pretty good internet. So that'll be really, really good. Um, Yes, same as Vancouver Island, beautiful to look at, but so overpriced. Total joke. Seeing more and more price reductions daily through local realtors, and that will continue. And then we got the hike come in on April 1st. Don't forget about that. My mouse is gonna die, so I gotta set up another mouse. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Talk amongst yourselves in the chat. I got to sort out this mouse because if I don't, they made these Apple mouses and they don't charge. Hold on one sec. Let me just. Oh, ay, ay, ay. Okay. Think I got it sorted. Does this work? Yeah, it works. We're all good. We're back. We're back. It's all good. But yeah, it like some of the houses that you'll see, one of the neighborhoods that I'm planning to do a video and I want to do a walk around of is a neighborhood that where the houses are going for like I think around 500 to six to 700,000 pounds, and those same houses after 2008 were like 260,000 pounds. Now these houses, when you see them for English like size, they're huge, and they're some of them are listed buildings as well. The architecture is really cool. So I'm going to walk around that neighborhood, do a video there. It'll be kind of funny as well because that was the neighborhood I grew up doing a paper round in. And I always got good tips there. And I know most of the people in that community. Well, probably a lot of them are dead now because a lot of them were old, to be honest. So at least Luke fixed this microphone. Yeah, Greg, it was your super chat that did that. Just kidding. Like, I think this headset's like 150 bucks now, and it was like $69 when I bought it. So, yeah, they hiked rates. Building permits were up month over month. Oh, month over month they were declining. Housing starts were up in the US. Jobless claims don't really care. But if you look at the rate hike, there were 8 people that voted for the hike and one that voted against just leaving it, just keeping it the same. So that is really hawkish. And for some reason, I noticed the Globe and Mail, which is like a lefty, um, it's like a lefty state-backed media organization. I feel like we're in communism times when we have to say stuff like that because the media is so just screwed up right now. But anyway, they put out an article saying like something about the rate in England and saying that they were more dovish, and I was like, yeah, really? Because look at how many people voted for the hike. Like, if they were more dovish, wouldn't there be more people that were voting to keep it the same than one person? I mean, they're just trying to, I think, maybe soften the blow of the next hike for Canadians. So it is kind of funny. Built my house in Lower Mainland in 1999. I'm with you. Just sold it. Shaking my head at cost to buy now. Yeah, it's just insane. And I was like I don't mean to be what am I doing? I don't mean to be uh it's not rude, but I don't know the word, but I don't care anyway. But like when I walk around the neighborhood we're in, mostly boomers here, mostly at that retirement type age, and they've got these huge houses. And I'm not being funny, but over the next 10 years, all of them are going to be selling those houses because 95% of the wealth in Canada is locked up in housing. So how are you going to free that wealth up if you need to pay for care or whatever it is, those expenses as you get older, even top up your RRSP because you took money out to give it to your children? Whatever it is, these people are going to have to hit reality sooner or later. And when they do, which they're going to start doing this year probably, you're going to see lots of them hitting the market because a lot of boomers have retired over the past 2 years. And wouldn't have you done the same if you could? I mean, geez, it's not exactly the time where you want to just be working like in some of the conditions. So it's kind of crazy, but that's going to happen. It's seriously going to happen. But the problem is people like Trent who are smart and have done it already. Those people are the ones that did the right thing. But a lot of people are going to wait and they're going to wait and they're going to end up working again. And this happened in 2008. Me and Scott have talked about it, and I should get Scott on here to talk more about that time because he has a lot of information about that time. But me and Scott have talked about that before, like in 2008, even the economic ninja. He told that story when I had him on here of basically the neighbor that was retired and everything. And then guess what? 2008 hit, their house, the price of their house tanked, and then they had to go back to work. So what wealth is, the problem with unrealized P&L is that it can go in an instant. And as a trader, I know that, and people are just very foolish, I think, that they think that because it's a house, it just can't lose that. Like, people honestly think that, and there's no logic in it. When you try and drill into the logic of people's thought process, it's like you know, just I don't know what to compare that with. Not full of good metaphors tonight. But yeah, they're gonna sell. They're going to sell or die. Boomers raging fast. Yeah, that's true. That's the reality. That is the reality. Um, and that will happen. And demographics are going to be a struggle for a long time. And it's one thing that people are underestimating massively. And that's why I don't think, even after the rise, I think real estate will be going down for a long time after. And what I want to show you, actually, just whilst we're on this, we'll cover the rest of the data, and then there's a good right move. So right move is like Zillow for the UK, but it's handy because it shows you housing prices and what they've done. So if I go detached, yeah, so we'll do that. We'll do that, and I'll show you that afterwards, and then you can see how it's kind of how the prices have changed. So anyway, so let's go back to this. Let's blow it up on the screen. Um, oh God, this mouse I hate it. Was that it? Friday retail sales. Yeah, we knew that would be up with inflation. That makes that makes total sense. Does that include gasoline sales? Of course, that's going to be up significantly. But the thing is, these headline numbers look good to everybody. So yeah, I think that's all of that. So what I want to show you is this WR1 is sort of near where I live, but this is just what I want to show you. Because basically this is a this is market trends on Rightmove. So Rightmove is, like I said, it's like Zillow, and basically like Zillow, they have housing price trends and lots of data that you can dive into. And what I want to show you is how effectively, as you can see, pretty much until the Cerveza sickness, prices were flat from pretty much 2005. They went up here. You got, this was in 2007 when they topped out. Then they came back down. Not sure what this spike is here. It must, oh yeah, it's when there was incredibly low amount of inventory on the market. So we can ignore the dramatic spikes because they're mostly to do with low inventory, like down here where the price went down. That's wrong. It's just that there was really nothing on the market. But you can see how prices are flat. And if we go to, I'm trying to remember, London, let's go E1, because that should have more properties. Yeah. So this has more data. Um, so London, world-class city. Okay, look at house prices. They've effectively been flat, and they actually went down during the Cerveza sickness. So London prices have been going down, and you can see that they've effectively, been up, down, up, down, up, down. But that's basically seasonal, obviously. But essentially, they've been flat. They haven't really gone any higher. So it's kind of crazy. But that's where prices have gone. Now, in a lot of areas outside of London and places like that, you've had prices go up a lot. I think prices were up 10, 15%, which is nothing when you compare them to the numbers of Canada and the US. Because again, lending is much, much stricter in England. I think if we go on to 2-year fixed rates UK, let's see what 2-year fixed rates are currently at in the UK. So so yeah, the fixed rates in the UK are sitting around 2% on a 2-year fixed. So that's only fixed for 2 years. So that's essentially like almost a variable rate essentially. And then if you go to things like the 10-year fixed rate, you're talking, I'm actually surprised they're not higher. 3.4%, 3.1%, 2.8%. Wow, that's pretty low. But it kind of goes with the bonds, because if we look at bonds, if I just bring up the UK bonds, they're showing even more kind of interesting things, because they're definitely, this is the UK 5-year government bond, and you can basically see that it is, you know, it's at 2018 levels, okay, but they're at the rates they were at before that. Like, think about it. We're at 2018 levels here in Canada too, and in the US, okay, but the thing is, they're back at the level of interest rates that they had before all this started. So you would think that they would be lower, but it's kind of insane, really, what's happening. So, and the reaction, interestingly enough, off the interest rate hike, let me show you, because it was negative. So people don't agree with the hike. If we go to 1 week, you can see that the bond yield finished the week down, the opposite of bond yields of places like Canada, which finished the week up, in New Zealand. So you can see that it's down significantly. Like, we started the week, we're down about 7 basis points. And then if we go to the Treasury 5-year as well, you can see that with the Treasury, oh, the Treasury actually finished up on the week. So the Treasury opened here at 204, finished 214, so up about 10 basis points. So the outlook for UK is really bad for some reason. So I mean, I'm not big on the UK's economy, but the debt in the UK in the private sector is much less than Canada and the US. So I think long term they'll actually do better, even though they might be thinking, with the fluffed up numbers we've had in statistics and everything like that, that maybe they're going to be a little better. So I have no hope in those 25 basis point hikes. Yeah, you know what? I'm just trying to block this. Oh man, we're getting some strange naked hate. Oh God, these. But yeah, I have no hope in these 25 hikes. Well, I think they'll happen. I think they'll continue. for the foreseeable future, unless we see things change, which we'll address on this channel. But the thing is, you take it up to 1% because the debt levels have got so high now. That is like a lot. Like that's like we had higher rates before this all started. So when it was at 1.75%, being at 1% or 1.25% will be similar. What is that pain? We don't know. I mean, there's talk of prices flattening out and declines happening off the first hike. So that's definitely more psychological than anything else if that's happening. But it's kind of crazy to me that that could even be happening. So it'll be interesting. I don't often look at the housing data, but this month we will go into it, next month, early next month, and we'll look at what different markets have done, how they reacted to the interest rate hikes. Have some gone up? Have some gone down? Has inventory miraculously appeared? Because in Calgary, inventory is absolutely going parabolic. And what you're going to have happen is sales are going to decline as the rates go up. So April 1st, another hike. Wham! That takes more buyers out of the buyer pool. And you have to, it's already exhausted. You've only really got the super dumb money or the super desperate money that's left now in the buyer pool. So it's exhausted because of the sheer volume that we had last year, and that's why it pushed up prices because there wasn't so much supply. But guess what? Those boomers have had their 25 boosters now, and they are good to go. They're happy to have people around the house as long as you're wearing 25 masks, one over another. And they're good. So put it for sale, Darlene. Darlene, put it for sale. Okay. All right. So, would you start taking laddered positions in bonds? What do you mean? Like averaging into bonds, buying them? I'm not too sure about that. I'm not a big I'm not a big bonds guy, to be honest. I wouldn't buy bonds, no. Maybe trading bonds for short-term swings and stuff like that. Maybe that's worth looking into. I haven't really thought about it, but I'm definitely thinking about looking into that. I think you wouldn't want to go long term because it's so unpredictable what's happening right now. I mean, I would say to you guys that I'm 50-50 on what's going to happen with these rate hikes. Like, I know at some point they're going to stop and they'll maybe cut, but maybe they won't. But that's 50-50 in my opinion. Like, I really don't know. And I also think that it depends what bonds you're looking at, because I think some government bonds, they might start to sell off in response to people thinking, well, I'm not getting, there's no yield. They're never going to control inflation. So we're just going to sell the bonds because they're losing money to us, and then they head more into risk assets. Something like that could happen, and then we could see the stock market crash upwards. Different things are possible like that, and I think there's so many cross currents that it's hard for me to ever like envision taking a long term position in bonds because it's unstable, and that's just my 2 cents. It's not financial advice, just do what you think. So I have a few friends moving to Calgary, Sherwood Park, wherever that is. I know where Sherwood Park is, but I can't picture it right now. I have to put it up on a map. And I'm sure a lot of people are moving here because that's the dumb money. That's the scraping of the barrel that starts to arrive towards the end. That really does come because, the thing is with people moving to Calgary, this is not a new phenomenon that's happened. It happened after housing prices spiked insane amounts in after 2016 in the places like Toronto. Lots of people from BC and Ontario moved here. How do I know that? Because when we moved here and we were looking around rental properties, most of the people who were trying to rent them out at a loss were people that had moved back to Ontario and BC, lost their jobs, and were now selling the properties. So Sherwood Park is in Edmonton. That's why I recognized it, Greg. Sherwood Park is west of Edmonton. So if they think they're moving to Calgary, they're gonna have a shock. They're moving, but Sherwood Park's actually pretty nice. It's not in the city of Edmonton, and it's on the outskirts. It's where I bought my car from, funnily enough. But Sherwood Park's nice. But again, people are just getting in. They think, hey, you know what? Calgary housing prices haven't gone up that much, so it's safe. If I buy it, it's safe. Nothing's safe. That's what people don't get. The thing is, Calgary's market is incredibly volatile, cyclical as well. The job market isn't very good here. And what's happening with the economy here in Alberta isn't very good either. I was looking at the GDP stats just yesterday, and Alberta is still in a deep recession. It has not recovered at all. So you can look at the unemployment rate, which is just a bad measure of unemployment effectively, because a lot of people end up getting part-time jobs. That's why I never pay any attention that much to the job numbers, apart from when people are losing jobs, because they're accurate. Because the gains, they're not accurate at all, because it's always full-time, part-time. How much is that? How much of that is part-time? How much of that is full-time? We're nowhere near at the level of full-time employment in this province that we were at pre-Savasa, yet housing prices are like 10-20% up, depending on what category you're looking at. So they're overvalued, and it's a way different market. So, and the thing is, with psychology as well, you have to think the markets that crashed before will crash again, and here's the reason why. As we've discussed on this channel many times, Alberta is like more cyclical. But even if you take Phoenix in Arizona, Las Vegas in Nevada, all these bubbly type markets which are more cyclical, boom bust. Basically, you have that in the psychology. So if prices start to go down, well, guess what? A lot of people are used to waiting for prices to come down even more. So people are more likely to just hold off all of a sudden. And then, yeah, it's just kind of it's crazy. So, oh my God, we keep getting these scam comments coming in. I don't know why. Um, no, don't be sorry, Greg. But yeah, that's interesting that they're looking at Sherwood Park. But yeah, that's actually a nice area. It's not in Edmonton, right? If you're going to Calgary or Edmonton, good luck. The cities are just a joke. Both cities are incredibly corrupt. And one thing we'll just talk about quickly, and then I'll end. Our jobs not coming back with oil booming. No, they're not. So the funny thing is, when you look at Alberta and what's going on in the economy, if you look at oil production, you'll see it's actually down 5% on the year. So if I just show you this real quick, here we go. So you can see right here, down here, that it's actually down 5%. So oil production should be going parabolic right now, but we've got a government in charge that has no idea what they're doing, and we haven't got the pipeline capacity. So even though prices are booming, it's not really affecting the economy at all. And you know what's funny? Before I really wanted, and I somehow forgot. But basically, like a lot of people, they said, "Oh, housing prices in Calgary are just tied to oil, what oil prices do," and that's not true at all. Because if that were true, then in 2020, when oil prices crashed, and they stayed down, remember, for quite a while, they didn't actually start going up until 2021 into good territory. There was a lot of times where they were shutting down the oil sands and everything like that, shutting down production, laying people off. But if they were tied to that, then we would have seen housing prices absolutely tank here. So it's not tied to that at all. But one thing I just want to lastly mention was they granted a court in a court injunction here in Calgary. You're not going to hear this on the news. The freedom protest and rally that's been going on every week here in Calgary. There's been a tiny, tiny opposition that mainly has been built up by the actual councillors here in the lefty councillors here in Calgary who've said, come here, bring your signs. We need to stand for the Beltline residents. This freedom march went through the Beltline, and it was great for business. Like, business was booming, and this was before when I did the rally, you can see it right on this channel. If you go back, you can see when I walked and I did that march. That march happens every week. Well, they granted an injunction so that they couldn't do it. So they basically, once again, suspending people's rights to protest. Like, this is the city of Calgary, but we have a lefty psychopath in charge of the city here. The same is true of Edmonton, even worse, because the council is even more like left wing than you can possibly imagine. And I think they go so left that they just come far right. They're almost like fascists. But it's just like we're entering this new world of lefty fascism. But essentially, they granted this injunction so people can't protest. But, you know, again, this is just, it's not on the news. It's not heavily publicized. The only news articles I've seen have been from CBC and CTV saying about the residents, the tiny, tiny amount of people. And let me see if I can pull up a video um, of when basically in Calgary last weekend, I was sent this video, and you can clearly see that the protesters and the the opposition, because they basically met the opposition, the people who were counter protesting essentially, they threw a smoke grenade, and the smoke grenade was blamed on the freedom people. And this is what you have happening right now. And that's what scares me so much about Canada, is just how we've got to this place where lying in the media and brainwashing people has just become the go-to method now. And I just do not see that stopping. And we are like, it's a weird type of communism where we aren't allowed to say what we want. We're not allowed to protest unless it's, if it's BLM, that's totally fine. If the government agrees with your gripe and it divides people, then that's totally fine. But if it's about love, if it's about unity, if it's about coming together, it's wrong. Get that off there. And this is Calgary, guys, in Alberta, meant to be one of the freest places in Canada. So, I laugh at anybody who moves to Calgary thinking that they're getting a slice of freedom. You are one couple of lemons short from a full bunch. That was such a bad expression. But I'm just trying to see if I got it here, and then I'll let you go. But I just wanted to show you, essentially, it's this mouse. Oh man, come on. This mouse is so bad when I try and scroll up and it won't let me see. But they were there, but obviously it deterred a lot of people. Um, Protesters. Oh yeah, here we go. So this is the counter protesters, and you guys saw. If you haven't seen the live stream I did of Calgary, then where did that go? I just put that down there. Oh man, how do I save this file? Oh no, my computer's locking up. I don't know if this is gonna cut. Oh, there we go. It's worked. Okay. So now I just got to share it quick time. Oh, what is going on? I don't know why, but this computer has got 40 gigs of RAM and is slow as a snail. And I just, you know, I can never get a fast enough computer. Never. Like, even when I got this computer, like, after 6 months, I was complaining how slow it was. Um, I'm just trying to bring up this counter protest so you can see how small the group was that was counter protesting. And they even had photos. A lot of people had photos of the people who turned up to basically throw the smoke bomb. A lot of people were saying it was Antifa. I mean, nobody can confirm it, but it came from them, and of course, it was blamed on the people who were protesting for freedom, and that was part of the reason that the injunction got granted. But all those businesses, they were loving it. They were loving the extra people. They were packed out. People were dancing, cheering everybody on, going, "It's fantastic." And I think that should be a weekly thing, and it was a weekly thing because we need to retain and remind people of our rights and our freedom. And it was, come on, this thing is so slow. You know, the funny thing is, um, oh, no. Oh, let me see if I can get this going here. Is, is that locking up my computer? Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. I'm trying to shut down a rogue application here that is taken up so much of my memory. Maybe it's the my memory. Sounds like all right, I got it up. So let me share this. Da, 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 da. Yeah, share, stop, share screen. Here we go. Oh, this video is so worth it. Um, there we go. All right. So this is the counter protests. I hope you can hear the. You're probably not going to be able to hear the audio. But anyway, but but that was literally it. So literally, like, not many people at all, and they were literally saying, I know you can't hear the audio, but they were literally saying, I want my Saturdays back. Like, and you can see the one sign that said Hong Kong. I mean, come on. It was just such a great time as well. So you could really go back and watch that video. I sometimes reminisce about it because it was such a great time. I'm just blocking that person who's talking about well, not talking it. It's a scam, whatever it is. Some scam in the comments. I don't know how scams get in the comments, but anyway, I see the Conservatives in Alberta are going after the leadership. Yeah, well, the Conservatives are in Alberta, but I think, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? Like we just had the mayor election here in Calgary, and I was so disappointed in that because Jyoti Gondek is like a classic person who's just trying to become the next politician in Ottawa, a classic politician like they want, who has absolutely who doesn't care at all about freedom or liberty, and who's just like a celebrity type politician like Justin Trudeau. They just enjoy the limelight and the sound of their own voice. Essentially, it was loggers and mill workers when I was a kid. Yeah, it's don't forget green in Nanaimo. Yeah, so crazy. Nanaimo is just a working class town, but when I was there, it's just insane. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please give it a like so that it helps rank better and people see it on their homepage. And I will see you in the next live stream, which may be tomorrow, maybe on Tuesday, maybe on Wednesday. We'll probably have one on Thursday or Friday. So I'll see you then. Take care of yourself, guys, Have a great rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you later. Peace, guys. Bye bye.